Alright, Instructional School 800A, American Locomotive General Electric, page 3041, Regulating System. Section 4. Section 4, Power Plant Regulating System for the 1950 locomotives equipped with the Type 17 MG governed the power plant regulating system with the control of the diesel engine speed of the primary function with the whole of the diesel engine, whatever the control speed is called for. Setting the engineer throttle with the speed held constantly and at all load. The power regulating system includes the following: equipped diesel engine governing the engine driving the technometer generator, three hydraulic pump power system. Diesel engine governor. The General Electric Type 17 MG electrical hydraulic governor controls the speed of the American locomotive of the Type 244 diesel engine of the Type 17 MG governor is used with both 12-cylinder, 16-cylinder, 9, 10.5-inch diesel engine speed with the control with the regulating fuel injection adjusting the engine load. The governor includes the speed control equipment and fuel limiting equipment, the speed control equipment, the speed coil with the speed of the solenoid, the receiver with the control of the current flow of the engine drive with the tachometer generator, the speed operator for the balance four-way with the pilot valve with the control flow of oil solid piston number 1 position with the move of the flow of oil gas against the top of the bottom of the surface to rotate the shaft E with the later rotates. The governor output shaft F5, shaft F through the outer treble spring with the magnetic clutch coil with the shaft F control with the position with the diesel engine fuel injection pump racks. Pressure arms stabilizing rheostat 125A low with the control restat. When the pressure arms are actually geared with the driven with the E, they are shown directly driven in figure 47 with the clarity of figures 4 and 65 illustrating gear drive. Fuel limiting equipment. Limiting equipment. Fuel limiting coil with the limiting solenoid. Receive the control current with the locomotive battery with the solenoid. Operate with the balance four-way pilot valve with the control of the flue oil salve pistons number 2 with the movement. The pistons either up and down with the cylinder with rotates the shaft H, but on the H, but then the fuel limit cam with the shaft H position with such manner the limits of the travel the arms A and B, a certain definite position with each of the throttle notch. The result of the maximal allowable rate of fuel injection each with the position of the engine throttle of the shaft H operates the brush arm with the fuel limit of the rheostat 131. The rheostat acts as a variable resistant fuel limit circle with the figure 47 shown for the brush arm with the rheostat mounted on the shaft H with the actual gear driven with the gear shaft on the H is shown figure 65. Engine-driven tachometer generator. This is the three-phase, six-pole alternating current generator with a permanent magnet with a link code rotor. The rotor should be given the driven with the diesel engine camshaft. The tachometer of the generator is used with the speed measuring device because its output proportional to diesel engine speed. The current is rectified the direct current by a three-phase solenoid selenium rectifier. The rectified current is applied with the speed coil with the speed solenoid with the G with the control pilot valve with action diesel engine speed with 1,000 RPMs and tachometer generator speed 2,384 RPMs. Alternating current generators used in eliminate the communication problems. The tachometer generator has no communicator slip rings or no brushes. The hydraulic power system. The motor driven by the supply of the oil under 125 psi regulated pressure of the type of the pilot valve operating with the governor safe valve piston. The system includes a suitable filter strainer for the use of the pressure regulating valve. The system is not connected with the diesel engine and lube oil system, but is completely separate with the system in itself. Operating with the governor. Figure 47, the mechanical schematic diagram of the Type 17 MG6 for the governor with the mechanical schematic diagram. Of course, they do not illustrate the various parts of the equipment if the true shape, the size, and the purpose, rather than to give it a clear picture for the inner working with the governor to do this various parts separated from one another to each of these visible. This would not possibly ordinarily type of the construction diagram. Figure 47 illustrates the action would be taking place for the governor and load increase the slope of the engine below the rated speed of the governor's function to the increased fuel injection brings speed back to the normal move of the fuel injection pump of the L with reviewed by this diagram. To do the slave piston, one of the has been forced upward into the cylinder by the flow oil through the speed pilot valve. The teeth was milled into the side with the slave piston mesh with the teeth of the gear J with the upward movement of the slave piston force with the E with the CCW, the gear with the J, the lever D with the turns, the shaft E with the lever C is moved the conjunction D over travel springs, the inner coil over travel springs with the fasten the shaft E with the later with the turn with the keep of the tension of the spring lever C with the support with the bearing of the shaft, the E with the pivots on the E like a seesaw. As C pivots the pull length with the M is upward with the direction of pull upwards A and B to the right, and the arm A and B is key with the out shaft of the F. As the B moves to the right, turns the F clockwise to increase the fuel and bring the engine up to rated speed. And then the diesel engine load with a decrease and with the engine speed would have the increase beyond with the rate of the RPM. This has been the slave piston number 1 has been forced downward to flow oil into the top of the cylinder. In this case, the F would be turned clockwise to pull rack L with the left on the left to decrease the fuel injection. Movement of the slave piston is one controlled by the speed of the valve of the plunger with the position with the mechanically the plunger is mechanically connected with the speed solenoid movable armature. The plungs move up the down the ported cylinder and cover the parts of the permanent oil hydraulic piston power system to reach the move of the slave piston. The current supply with the speed coil of the tachometer generator will determine the plunger position of the diesel engine rotating the proper RPM of the tachometer generator will supply the speed coil with the current 4055 milliamperes. Solenoid operation. Speed solenoid kit with the movable iron core with the position with the coil with the wire coil with the speed coil with the diesel engine not running with the tachometer generator will not supply with the speed coil with the current with the solenoid core with the bulb with the uppermost travel of the reference spring with the pilot will also be the uppermost with the travel because of the mechanical fastening to the solenoid core. When the engine is running, the tachometer will be supplying current speed of the coil. The passenger current through the speed of the coil will set up the magnetic field within the solenoid magnetic cores with the pulls it down in the direction of the reference spring with the current course with the compressed spring with the observe the upward pull of the core. The downward magnetic pull will keep the plunger going back from the top of the current with the 450 milliamperes flowing through the speed flow of the segment F. Magnetism developed the pull of the pilot valve plunger with the position 48 with the reference if it's called the balance position 475 milliamperes reference to this as the balance position. Correct. When the plunger is balanced at the pilot valve with the inlet portion will block off the tube that no oil can flow through it. However, the diesel engine should slow down to the increased load to slow the tachometer generator. This weakens the current with a generator with supplying to the speed coil when left the 407 milliamp of the current with a coil with the magnetism with a weaker magnetism will be unable to plunger down the reference spring that can pull upward as shown. Figure 48, the permits the only flow with the now open inlet port to the bottom of the slave piston number 1. The reference of the figure 41 show the upward movement of piston with the cause of the fuel injection pump rack 7L will increase the rate of the fuel injection. This course the speed of the diesel engine speed of the tachometer generated speed up with it. When the engine reaches rated with the speed tachometer generator with supplying 475 milliamperes, the speed call with the plunger will pull down with the block off the inlet port once again, with this prevents the forward movement of the slave piston, and the diesel engine load will decrease instead of the increase. The engine will have speed up with the tachometer generator with the derivative fast enough to increase the current to above 450 milliamperes. The stronger current with the grease. Magnetism sufficient with the power pull of the plunger down with the balance of the position from 48 to the position shown 48B. The action would cause the slave piston to move downward to decrease the rate of the fuel injection, thus bringing the engine down to the rated speed once again. A change in diesel engine speed with 1 RPM will result in sufficient speed flow of the current change to move the pilot valve plunger to 4,000 of an inch. The pilot valve plunger is therefore actually controlled by the tachometer generator current. Governor clutch arms A and B. The governor output shaft of the F is keyed to the arm B with the operating lever together with one assembly because the shaft F B moves the fuel injection pump linkage. Any movement of the pump racks increase with the decreased fuel means and arm B must move first. However, the slave piston moves whenever the change in the fuel is moved from the connector to the arm A, and arm A moves the response to the slave piston movement. When the diesel engine is not running by a spring with the keep the arms A and B with the order to operate the diesel engine necessary to bring the arms A and B together with the operator as one assembly because they have no mechanical connection, but one of them are held together mechanically with a flow of the locomotive battery current through the clutch coil with the current flow with the coil magnets magnetize both arms and enable them to stick together. Alright, starting the diesel engine, figure 49, review the production section K and L with the schematic connection diagram will apply with the Alco G50 1950 road locomotive type 44 diesel engine 717 MG 6 governor. The small diagrams are used in following text represent circuit analysis figure 49. Alright, you have your slave piston once again, the hydraulic, the car. Engine has slowed down due to the increase in generator curl and weak but the string plungers up, oil pressure forces the slave piston up. So it pushes the up and the slave piston moves up, it goes and moves up and drain into the governor base. Fuel pump comes in, comes back, pushes the slave piston down, the slave piston brings it back out through the drain into the governor base. Alright, complete governor schematic diagram with locomotives equipped with a 17 MG6 remote diagram. Hot engine hot oil control, 17 fuel pressure control switch, main control positive battery, main control negative, Engine control switch, safety alarm relay, engine temperature switch, ECOI, engine EC switch, operation BVS, OPR, GS ground switches 1 and 2, clutch governor, clutch coil, stabilizing unit, valve. Alright, the three-phase selenium rectifier is 6 selenium rectifiers in a block rectifier, capacitor, tube resistor, rheostator, open circuit breaker, normal closed bridge with the contact interlocking, normal open bridge contacting interlocking, normal closed finger type contact interlock, normal closed finger type interlock, shunt field winding, shunt field communicating field wind, snap switch, main battery switch, throttle contact, engine control switch. These contacts are marked slow throttle, engine control switch with it or they are closed. Alright, American Locomotive. To start the diesel engine necessary for the energized fast of the current through the stabilizing coil with the speed solenoid, the circuit of the diagram, the 50 with the main battery switch with the 100 battery circuit breaker with the 100 switch with the main control pop with the day with the circuit breaker with the 136 clutch with the locomotive battery current with the wire 50 of the fuel pump contactor, FPC of the closed window with the circuit breaker 169 switch of 170 section H of the schematic diagram are closed with the circuit breaker 173 closed with the sending of the current with the 171. This is then flowed for the overspeed switch. And GS2 with the interlocking safety relay switch, contact resistor, stabilizing coil, current lit coil, pilot valve plunger will be pulled down to position figure 48B. Open oil then flow through the pilot valve, forces the slave piston number 1 at the bottom of the cylinder shaft E with the turns of the clockwise pull A over against the arm B. Alright, this shows the negative battery 1 and 2 main, negative battery, positive fuel pump. Operational switch, safety relay switch, and stabilizing coil and tube. Fuel pressure, which move with the governor slave piston, supplied with the governor oil with the pin position, drive with the fuel pump with the matter of the later is supplied with the circuit breaker 173 later for the coil for the mentioned previous paragraphs. The cover with the governor oil pump operation also energizes the stabilizing coil. Engine control switch is turned by the idle position to close the 500E, 500C contact with the starts and switch with the turn with the close contact 570. 57C, 43, and 50C, 50D. 57, 43 contact supplies current starting like GS1 and GS2. These contractors close supply current, battery current to the main generator, section F. Schematic diagram, the generator operates the motor to rotate the diesel engine crankshaft. You have your starting starting contactor circuit, your operational switch, engine ISC, T4, 6 and R, relay, throttles, engine with a 50C with the engine control switch, capacitor switch, open switch, P1 closed switch, S2 1 start switch, ground field wiring, G1, GS1, G2. Alright, your clutch control, your clutch coil circuit, the operation circuit with a 50E with the engine control switch, 2, 4, 6 and R, engine control switch open, governor clutch coil, and engines ESR. Or with the 50C for the 50D contact to go with the start switch for the current for the 47 volt water flow for the OS for the 2 EC contact with the governor clutch coil with the return for the battery ESR wire 4. Arms A will now be magnetized field with the engineer with the coil with the magnet will cover them stick together with the two arms of the operator with the one assembly and movement with the slave piston number 1 with the both the arms to move with the move of the arms with the cover the fuel injector pump the racks to move. It's necessary arm for the A and B to move the right with the evidence for the rack travel to those go for the fuel injection engine rotation for the diesel engine will give the running under the tone popper with the cause of the fuel injection to begin with the GS contact 50E 50N will open the GSE2 coil energize open the circuit breaker to energize with the stabilization pilot valve plungers then pull the upward with the reference spring to allow the oil to reach the bottom of the slave piston number figure 48 illustrates the pilot valve in this position the slave position 4 for the upward with the flow oil arms A B with the move with the right to flow injection begin with the engine rotate with the main generator with the rotation fuel injection begin to run under its own power. As the diesel engine begins rotating, lubricating oil pressure build up with the oil pressure builds up to 7 pounds per square inch. The closed oil pressure control switch, OPS2, Engine will reach the speed of above 150 RPM. The tacho generator, the current will be strong enough to energize the safety relay. Later close with the 50C, 52, 50T contact that completes the final running of the clutch coil circuit. The engine will not continue running unless the clutch coil circuit is open. One of the automatic safety interlocks, the OS operating switch, emergency switch relay, safety relay switch, ops to oil pressure switch 2. Or if you should have the clutch coil will be the de-energize the magnetism to hold the together the A and B separated with the brass spring of the action will pull up the arm B with the way from the left with the minimum travel which would be the no function engine action will be shut down the safety relay emergency energized to open 50N and 50P contact stabilizing coil current to prevent current from reaching stabilization coil GS2 contact 50E and 50N returns its normal. Alright, this shows your operating switch, the 50E for the engineering engine throttles, clutch circuit running of the safety relay, operational oil pressure switch is open, governor clutch coil, engine safety relay. Alright, your closed position following the release of the start switch of each contacts are shown 50 F. The start of the diesel engine will come with a speed of 350 RPM. At the speed of the tachometer engine will supply the speed out coil at 475 milliamperes. The pilot will be valve balanced position 48 with longest engine speed remains 350 RPMs. Our speed control. The circuit through the tachometer generator is supplied with the speed coil with the current illustrated figure 54 with the current flow of the direction over the arrow, three-phase rectifier for the alternating current for the tachometer generator, the direct current for the U for the speed coil. The tachometer generator governor will be hold the engine speed with a constant each for the 9 different position for the engineer throttle. For example, the engine with the idle speed that should be 350 RPMs. It should be sent to the decrease. The governor will show that the fuel to bring the speed back to 350 RPMs. For example, the speed should drop 348 RPMs. Governor action will be illustrated by the figure 47 of the sequence of events would be as follows. Alright, this shows your tachometer rectifier, stellium rectifier, tachyon generator, or rectifier, tachyon generator, tachyon rectifier, rectifiers, AV, CV, BVS, closed gate, and safety relay speed coil. Alright, engine speed drops below 350 RPM. The tacho generator slows down with the current pilot valve speed control does drop below 450 milliamperes. When less than 450 milliamperes, the speed control reference spring pulls the pilot valve plunger upwards. Oil pressure of the reaches bottom with the slave piston. Number 1 is piston up. The piston operates governor linkage to increase the fuel injection with more than fuel engine speeds up. When the speed engines rise to 350 RPM, the tachometer will once again put 450 milliamperes through the speed coil. This current will cause the pilot valve plunger to be pulled down far enough to block off the inlet port with the stop of the oil for the power piston for the increase the fuel is prevented. The engine has sped up instead of the slowing below 350 RPM, but the governor will be decreasing fuel instead of increasing it. The effective throttle and movement of the governor. The engine control switch must be thrown to 246 of the run position before moving the engine throttle will have any effect with the diesel engine. As long as the resistant tachometer generator circuit remains the illustrated in figure 454 with the diesel engine will operate at 350 RPM for the engine to increase the engine speed with the notches up with the throttle. When the throttle is notched up to 1 or 2 with the close with the 7A15 with the contact energized for the AVS relay. AVS picks up the contact with the tachometer general circuit with the add to the part of the resistor 132A in the circuit with the 56. This added resistor weakened the tachometer generator current with the current speed with the coil drops below 450 milliamperes. The engine, diesel engine will increase the speed when the diesel engine and the speed increase the tachometer rotates faster, develop more voltage. At 450 engine RPM, the voltage will be strong enough to bring the current up to 465 milliamperes once again. In display and add resistance of 132 amp, the current value will be plunged down to the balance of the cut off the flow oil with the slave piston. Diesel engine fuel racks will now have the higher setting. The engine would be operating with a second knot speed at 450 RPMs. The governor will hold at 450 RPMs until the throttle is moved again. This shows your battery open and switch for both relays. B minus, B positive, main control positive, main control negative. AV, BVS, CVS fires and resistors, AC2, your EC, your throttle shutters and throttle idle. Tries speed control circuit with a technometer guide, selenium rectifier, rheostat, ABS, CBS, speed safety relay valve. Alright, your notches, rheostat and H2H from notches from the tubular 128 of the engine ES1 contacts ES7, E5, E4 with the CBS, DBS, BBS valves that switches. Operational reswitch, grounding reswitch. Moving the throttle position 2 and 8, 2 through 8, inclusive of the operators for the feed with the relays ABS, BBS, CBS, DBS. Every throttle designed for the one or more 3 relays. The chain with the resistance with the tackle meter generator circuit with the result with the chain with the diesel engine speed with the figure 757 illustrates the complete circuit with all the 4 relays for the dotted line. Indicates the 4 contacts for the contacts operated simultaneously. Relay ABS figure 55 illustrates the throttle contacts with the contact called the relay coils to be energized. To type 5 of the list of the relays operating throttle position diesel engine RPM, which result in various combinations. 1 is none 300, 1 in idle none 352 is the ABS 450, 3 is the CBS relay operation 455 550, 4 is the ABS CBS 655, 6 as the ABS BBS CBS DBS 860 RPM, 7 is the BBS CBS at 920 RPMs, 8 is the ABS B CBS at 1000 RPMs. Fuel limiting design. Whenever the diesel engine slows down with decrease the load, whenever the throttle is mounted up with the speed pilot valve with increase the flow with the clone forcing arm of the A and B with the right of the view with the figure 47, however the mount of the arms of the A and B with that with the diesel engine fuel rack for the operated is limited to certain set for travel the throttle notches the arms that move at the right that they come with the fuel cam and that the cam prevents the further fuel increase as long as the throttle is not moved in a high notch. By limiting fuel injection certain fixed amount with each throttle position, designer ensure for the given set with operation conditions earn a horsepower to develop the engine each of the throttle notch regardless for the grade and tonnage condition. Fuel limited the process of the injection more fuel with the diesel engine can safely burn excessive fuel injected with the diesel engine high compression pressures, temperatures, successful carbonation valves and cylinder heads, manifolds, and piston results. Let us assume the engine is operating with the second throttle notch, but the engine min match with the notches up to number 3 to the notch. The A and B move with the right with the engine speed, then increase the out with the armor. Hits the cam with the fuel injection project pump tracks travel is held at a certain maximum with the most of the fuel design. The engine comes from 540 RPM. If necessary to get the 550 RPM, it must be not possible to do with the further increase of the fuel. Because the cam prevents the further rack to travel increase. The load control rheostat will now be operated with the governor of the rheostat will reduce the generator loading and load with the remove of the generator deal with the engine speed with the up to 550 RPM to reach with the speed with the balance at that point with the governor with up to 550 RPM with the throttles and move to the complete action of the load control. 3 is the state with the described load control. The engine call with the more diesel engine speed with the more horsepower with the notching the throttle with the 4 and the governor will increase the fuel describing the effect of the throttle movement of the governor. However, the order of the operation effective is described takes place. The fuel limit can be turned in a bit in order to arms and A and B to move from right to right and increase the fuel. Turn the cam accomplish the action with the governor second pilot valve, the fuel pilot valve, the fuel limit coil with the pilot valve supply with the current with the locomotive battery circuit with the engine throttle with the third notch of the wind that's 47.5. 475 milliamperes of the current supply with the fuel limit coil with the current will be pulled down just as far enough to the block of the inlet port, preventing the oil from exerting pressure on the slave piston number 2. When the throttle is advanced to 3 to 4 speed relay, the ABS operates the current resisting fuel circuit with the illustrate with the complete fuel limit circuit with the refer to table 5 with the speed relay option. Raising the reduction of the circular resistance permits with a higher current with the flow through the fuel limit coil with the 175 milliamperes. Increased current pulls with the valve plunger due the on the inlet the permitting the oil to force the slave piston number 2 down. As the piston goes down the turn shaft, the H for the counterclockwise. No of the most movement of the shaft allows move the shaft valve the limit of the cam to keep the moves arms A and B, but then will move to the right. Increase the turn. It will however the arms will hit again and fuel injection new valve with the horsepower will increase accordingly. The shaft H that turns the brush arm of the fuel rheostat figure as well with the fuel limit cam. Rheostat brush arm adds resistance fuel level to control. Figure 58 resistance increase with the do the mode with the brush current with the fuel limit with the gradually reduced until it opens against drivers 450 milliamperes. Primitive of the reference for the spring deploy the plunger and enough of the place the pour of the cut off oil flow the camshaft is all of those is thus allowed to turn a certain distance thereby giving the certain definite the fuel limit of each. Alright, this shows the fuel limiting coil. The fuel limited rheostats 134, 131, 121 fuel limit coil. Fuel pump main control positive battery, main control negative. Each of the throttle is notched up the resistance of the circuit intended to allow the concrete flow. Alright, position engine man throttle. The figure 63 with the front of the governor show with the fuel limit of the rheostat brush arm. The figure 47 that does not show with the reference spring with the fuel limit. The valve with one exit for the same related position with the valve is shown the speed pilot valve. Locomotive control. The governor's load control system controls speed with the diesel engine preventing with the traction generator overloading engine during the operation of knots 3 through 8. The governor arms A and B pushes against the fuel limit cam. The arms contact with the cam in each of the throttle position and normal for the arms to begin against the cam with the position. They ensure for the engine with the full quota with the fuel with particular with throttle position. Therefore, the only few pair of the locomotive operation maximum available fuel will hold the engines to be as proper as governor speed. However, the period during which the fuel is sufficient to make engine speed with the transition point to two other points where the normal point power output of the generator is equal to the engine's ability to supply with the power. Other periods of the operation are necessary to control the generator load of the order to prevent the flow facing engine drop down engine down below the rated speed. You assume the engine advance the throttle from 9 knots 2 to 9 knots 3. Discover the arm and B to move to the right with increase the fuel. Then increase the fuel in contact with the fuel limit of the cam. The further increase the fuel is not prevented. If the generator loads holds enough to hold the engine speed with the 550 RPMs normal third down speed, the tacho generator speed will also be normal. The speed for the current will be less than 475 milliamperes with less than 475 milliamperes speed. The cold speed pilot valve with the plunger will be pulled with the reference spring. Less the movement of the plunger will open the pilot valve with the inlet port that allows the oil to pressure of the slave piston number to further up. Shaft E turn for the clockwise with the lever D with the lever C with no further because of the mechanically linked over the travel of the spring of the D move away from C with the brush arm with the low of the control rheostat 125 begin with the travel across the rheostat segment. The brush arm adds the resistance with the exciter field current. Circuit figure 759 show the exciter field current with the force with the weakened due to increase the resistant load control resistant rheostat force reduction with the exciter current with the return to the first over the reduction of the generated field current, reducing the generated field current tightening with the load of the generator with the generator load of the engine speed up to rated of 550 RPMs. The government that gives the diesel engine certain definite amount of fuel, controls the diesel engine, controlling the amount of the generator load with a cam restriction fuel injection, a certain amount of load control rheostat brings the engine speed, rate speed, and remove the load of the generator. It should drop off the generator. The engine would of course increase the speed load of the control rheostat brush for then force and reduce the resistance to allow the load to increase slightly to slow engine down. Basic excitiation sort of ground Field 1, Field 2, relay, tubular, transformer, rectifier 1, rheostat, load, rheostat, operator, governor. Alright, stabilization action. With some of the forms of stabilization, speed control action with the government would attempt to be very rapid. For example, to slow down the engine speed with the valve with the full speed acting to cover the full of the increase of the green, so if the full decrease of the engine would be continued on the engine, but this regained the rated speed, at which point the tachometer generated for the current would be placed on the balance, would be a balance of the pilot valve. However, although the pilot valve's inlet balance would be immediately closed off by the plunger for the prevent the further fuel increase for the engine, diesel engine moment that would carry its speed with the rated RPM. The action would cause the tacho generator counter to become strong enough to pull the pilot valve down with the force of the fuel as decrease. The diesel engine will slow down the cycle would have been taken the reverse and the cause of the diesel engine drop below the rated speed. This is up or the down action referred to as hunting. To minimize the tendency for the diesel engine hunt with the stabilization control, the valve helps to speed with the maintain readings steady diesel engine speed. Wherever the speed calls for the pilot valve plunger to move the balance position, the stabilizing coil acts partially opposed to the movement that tends to prevent the pilot valve plunger for the opening inlet port wide. Figure 47 the brush arm for the stabilizing rheostat. Figure rheostat 125A will determine whether the E shaft is turned laterally. Always turn away for whenever the pilot valve plunger forward for the bail in forward position. Whenever the pilot valve is covered with an increase or decrease of the fuel of the diesel engine. Stabilizing rheostat connected with the stabilizing coil circuit is in such manner of the movement of the brush arm to change the resistance of the circuit from the resistance of the chain for the caster monetarily forth of the car. Remember the stabilizing coil with the shaft with the second magnetic field with the pilot valve solenoid, the stabilizing coil magnetic field with the opposite opposed whenever the command movement of the plunger will cause the speed coil. Or this tends to prevent speed coil of the move of the plunger far enough to cover the radical change of fuel delivery. The stabilizing coil magnetic pull never strong enough to completely overcome the pull of the speed of the coil. It's only partial opposed to prevent the overshooting of the diesel engine speed. Stabilizing rheostat is shown in figure 63 and figure 47 shown with the brush arm of the mount of the figure shaft A. The actual E rotates the brush arm made with the gearing of the figure 65. Assuming the diesel engine slow speed, the rate of speed of the pilot valve is operated with all the pressure for the reach of the bottom of the slave with the piston number with the upwards of the cylinder chain and turn the shaft of the brush arm with the stabilizing rheostat rotated before the gearing is connected into the shaft E. But as the brush arm move is reduced, the resistance stabilizing current circle with the permissive voltage increase the 50G wire side with the capacitor 128. The increase in the voltage of one side with the capacitor force in the capacitor to discharge current with the stabilizing coil and currents with the cause of stabilization pull with the pilot valve plunger reversely goes the inlet portion preventing the heavy low overflow from the moving of the slave position too far up. The original upward movement of the pilot valve plunger has been partially opposed. 125 resistor through the engine throttle resist 1246 in with rectifier 170 then GVS switch and tubular capacitators. When the winding stabilized scope with the current flow through the 50 wire with the 42 wire with the cover the pilot valve plunger down partially with the opposed fuel increase to prevent too great of fuel increase sudden acceleration speed overshooting the diesel engine are avoided. When the diesel engine increases speed above the normal rated RPM of the pilot valve's axis, the degree is allowed to prevent the making of the 2 degrees of the resulting radical drop of the engine speed and the stabilizing coil opposing the speed of action. Coil action and keep the slave piston turned with the shaft E stabilizing rheostat brush arm. Move the add resistance circuit to decrease the voltage of 50G wire side with 128 capacitor. And the capacitor cover the transient current flow for the time in the opposite direction instead of the current flow from 50M to 4T through the coil as it now flows from 4T to 50M. Current flow cover the pilot valve plunger to pull up and partially close the inlet ports preventing the slave piston from moving the far down. Alright, to action effective prevent the greater increase the fuel of the stabilizing coil, but that is active to prevent the pilot valve plunger being pulled far down. And after 3 through 8, the stabilizing coil acts to prevent the greater decrease of the fuel current flow with the coil and through the coil is weaker than with a greater increase the fuel is to prevent with the current flow with the 4T and F50M with the greater with it weaker than within the flowing with the 50M to 42 to do the action from 126 block rectifier. The action illustrated the stabilizing coil circuit analysis in 61 way and B and C. The circuit breaker is operated to prevent the greater increase of the current flow of the 128, 126 rectifier, 127 resistor stabilizing coil. Current is relatively strong flow through the stabilizing coil in the direction of the engine speed. Lighting up for operation announced 1 and announced 2 with the stabilizing coil acts to prevent the greater decrease of the fuel action in the capacitor cover the current flow through the coil 42 to 50M. Figure 61 and B in the direction of the current flow with the same strength with the flow with the 50M 42. When the engine is operating with announced 3 but through 8, the stabilizing coil adds to prevent the greater decrease of the fuel control flow with the direction of 40T, 50M. In the case of the wheel, we work with a CBS contact of the circuit. We'll open the 727A resistor will include the circuit as shown in figure 61C. As a result, additional resistance current flow with the weaker. Figure 60 shows the complete stabilizing circuit flow to prevent the greater increase of fuel, stabilizing coil, solenoid rectifier. Stabilizing current to prevent greater decrease in fuel in first and second. Stabilizing flow with greater decrease fuel third and second. You notice the capacitor 127, the GVS switch, the B 50M stable coil. The stabilizing circuit is just described covered the stabilizing coil buck with the action speed coil with the provided to prevent overshooting and undershooting with the engine speed. However, during the condition with the greater loading and unloading with the idling speed Instead of the bucking action needed for instant degree for the loading will slow the engine speed, thus with the time lag between the drop and the speed with the governor's response to it, eliminating time lag circulating with the amplifier's exciter with the stabilizing coil damage in the 62. A change in loading unloading always proceed with a change to exciter, but this change is upon the capacitor 151 with the same of the manner as if the voltage upon the capacitor 128. This will cause the transient flow of the current across the capacitor. The current will act upon the stabilization coil, such as a manner to cover the operation of the pilot valve before the techno-media generated for help of the operation. In other words, to increase the load with the grease engine before the grease of the grease of the has covered the tachometer generator called more fuel changing to amplitude output will already be started to stabilize the coil to increase its fuel. The stabilizing coil anticipates the engine before the more of the fuel. The diesel engine actually begins to slow down. The circuit rate works as a reverse exactly the same manner. The stabilizing coil acts with the decrease in engine fuel before engine requires clearance of the fuel back is always proportional to the rate of load of the change. The greater load change with the stronger will be current flow with exciter stabilizing coil blocking rectifier 126. Always heavy current flow of the stabilizing coil for the fuel is decreased with the rectifier permits current to flow around 21 resistor in the case when in the fuel will increase the current for the current flow 4250 amp with a weaker with because of the rectifier 4 for the current to flow for the resistor 121. Figure 57 illustrates the connection for the capacitor 148 with the speed circuit with the capacitor for the current burst of the engine speed, increase for the calls with the reduction fuel. It is described the increase for the fuel rapidly if it is possible. The increase for the tachometer generator voltage cover the capacitor of the discharge current through the speed coil. Action puts the pilot valve down quicker than it would be case for the capacitor would not be used with the full control racks. Injection pump is made to quickly decrease capacitor action only momentarily so for the produce the initial wider corrective opening. In pilot valve port with the steering for the capacitor's current discharge depending on how fast the diesel engine speed change, the greater the speed will result in more current and wider corrective pilot valve opening in that slightly speed change. Capacitor 148 also reduced the current surge for the speed control coil circuit with the ran for the resistance phase circuit is secondly increased to such that the throttle is advanced one notch. The action tends to prevent sudden acceleration of the engine. Alright, protected device. In order to regulate the operation of the diesel engine, the governor clutch coat must be powered by the batteries. If the coil is de-energized, allow for the clutch A and B to separate the clutch arm B. Return the shutdown. No fuel position. Engine stop. The protective devices are incorporated with the clutch coil circuit as follows. Governing oil pressure switch. The governing oil pressure switch drops below 75 pounds per square inch. The governing oil pressure switch opens 50F. There's a contact de-energizes the clutch coil and then shuts down the engine. See the clutch coil circuit figure 4953. Safety relay valve or SAR opening with a speed setting circuit with the de-energizes the safety relay coil that operates the safety relay 50C, 50T. Contact clutch circle with the same realization of the governor oil pressure switch. Safety relay switch is a 50 and 50P stabbing circuit close to the energizing stab of the coil force the axe. Arms to shut down position action protects the diesel against the sudden increase in speed with the result of the speed circuit. Fails allowed with the pilot valve plunger to pull upward with the reference spring of the clutch coil circuit. Overspeed switch and the engine speed with 1100 to 1120 RPM with the overspeed switch tripped out of the 7150E contact the clutch circuit coil should shut down as the switch opens 7050E with opens the contact 7150EC with the contact emerging stabilization coil with the fuel pump racks minimum fuel position. A drop engine oil pressure 20 pounds per square inch to the below the operation. The oil pressure 1 through the de-energization oil pressure relay later de-energize oil pressure contact speed setting circuit closed. The returns the engine idle speed with the action takes place only with locomotive operating in the 5th notch or the higher. If it is below 5th notch, the operating coil will remain energized with the operation switch. Open diesel engine and will not drop idle. Further drop oil pressure 7 pounds per square inch below the operation switch. 50T, 52 contact de-energization clutch coil and engine shut down the engine. Ground relay operation of the GR contact speed coil with the circuit to close. The contact closed 132 resistor circle air bypass, but the engine will drop idle speed. If the diesel engine cooling water is rises to 180 degrees Fahrenheit, the engine temperature of the ETS will open and the 1H, 1E contactor de-energize the operational coil. Operating contact speed setting circuit closes bypass 132 resistor, return the engine idle speed. Figure 65 shows E and H for the respective gearings. Note the brush arms and the rheostat actually operated with the gearings refer to the direct driving shown in 47 action brush arms described in foregoing tests. Alright, your 17 MG6D diesel engine front view. Fuel limit solenoid wiring harnesses, aft-mounted connector, solenoid control connector, oil filter, maximum oil level, sight glass, cover mounting, stud, or drain plug, oil filter cap, oil inlet, oil outlet, minimum oil level, sight glass, governor base, main amplum connector, fuel lining, resistor load control. Shaft E, arm B, arms A, arm stop, B stop, bias spring, shaft F, output, oil reserves, pressure regulating valve plug, oil filter, stabilization rheostat, level D, level C, level shaft D. Plant governing diesel engine, one plan schematic. And American Locomotive Company and General Electric shit. American Locomotive General Electric Company.